Hey guys, Jones here. Now I'm a little late doing a video on this topic, but this is the first chance I've actually had in probably the past month or so to shoot and upload a video. So a while back I got tagged by my buddy Logan with Hydra 572 HQ to show my 3 battle blades. Now my thoughts on this topic are going to be a little bit different than others. The blades I would choose to take into battle would really be dependent on the location of the battle, what sort of environment it's going to be in. And obviously the knives that I choose are going to be ones that I already own and have experience with and sort of know the capabilities of. Now, in order for me to bring a blade into battle, I've got a few criteria that I'd like them to meet. Number one, they have to cut exceptionally well. If they don't cut well, I don't want to use them. Number two, they need to be relatively easy to sharpen, because if you sustain damage in the field, your access to sharpening supplies are really going to be limited. So you need something that isn't a pain in the ass to sharpen. Like if you took S90V into the field and you chipped out your blade, you're kind of screwed. So these all sharpen really well. There's really no problems that they've given me. Now, I'm not really a large fixed blade kind of guy. I know the first blade you're supposed to choose is a belt knife. I really have no need for a large fixed blade. I live in the suburbs, have all my life. Right now I have no trees in my yard, so I really don't see a need for me to spend, like $200 or $300 on something like an SE Hungless or something like that. So the fixed blade I'm going to take, it isn't my biggest, but it is my best performing, and it is something I made a few months ago out of a $5 Harbor Freight machete. Of course, I cut the top of the machete off, and then I made this into it's a 3/4 height convex ground blade with a micro bevel on there. Thin stock, so that coupled with the 3/4 height convex makes this thing cut like a dream. Also, it is incredibly thin behind the edge. Right here at the heel of the blade, it is 0.10 millimeters. That's like 4/1000ths of an inch. And then it gradually thickens to 0.5 millimeters here at the tip, and that's probably on the order of like 14 or 15 thousandths of an inch. So needless to say, this thing cuts like you wouldn't believe. And see, as far as large fixed blades go, I don't want to bludgeon somebody with just a big low performance chunk of steel. I want to be able to cut and cut deep, and that's where this thing shines. Now, this is one of the harder steels that I've actually ground. I was really surprised at that. I figured it'd be something like 1055 carbon steel, given the price. But after grinding it, number one, I can tell you that it has a pretty damn good heat treat on it, and number two, the steel is fairly abrasion resistant, because it was kind of a pain in the ass to grind. It took me a long time. Also, as far as cheap carbon steels go, the edge retention and edge stability on this is actually very impressive. I haven't had any rolls or chips yet. It's got a hair-willing edge on there, and when doing deep power cuts into wood, it really sustained no damage, even though it is incredibly thin behind the edge. So I'm actually quite pleased with it. Plus, being that thin behind the edge, if I do need to resharpen it, I can do that in a couple of minutes, and it'll really be no problem. The second knife you're supposed to choose is your utility knife. For my utility knife, I chose the Kershaw Nerve, formerly called the Blitz. Of course, this has also been reground by me. The first Nerve I bought was a pretty high hollow grind and incredibly thin behind the edge. This one was not. It was a low hollow grind and was about 0.8 millimeters behind the edge, so it cut like crap. So I reground the blade, and now it is a little under 0.2 millimeters here at the heel, and about 0.3 here at the tip. So it's a very, very fine tip. No problem penetration. As far as utility knives go, like folding pocket utility knives, this has got to be one of my favorite. I love the blade shape. I love the ergonomics of the handle. I've actually rounded the edges on the G10 and sort of broken the edges on the jimping, so it's not quite as painful and abrasive on your hand. But now when your hand locks into there is no way in hell that blade is coming out of your hand unless you want it to. Now, another sort of positive aspect about this design is that the cutting edge starts very close to your index finger, so there's really no leverage disadvantage when you're trying to cut, so you can put a whole lot of power into what you're cutting. And that, coupled with the fact that it has this thumb plate on top, so you can put your thumb up there and get a whole lot of force from the top of the blade, means that you can cut through damn near anything with this. And because it is so thin behind the edge, it really shouldn't be a problem to cut through whatever you need to. Of course, in a self-defense scenario, this would be devastating if you got cut or stabbed with this. And I can use this to, fulfill a lot of utility tasks. And that is another thing I had in mind when I chose the blades. People carry guns nowadays. Wars are fought with guns. Now, I'm not going to try to pull some The Last Samurai shit and charge, a front line of some enemy militia with a machete and, try to kill people. I'm going to get shot. So, really, my thinking on this is I want blades that I can use effectively to make things. I can make shelter with these. I can make primitive weapons. I can make a bow and arrow. I can make a blowgun. I can make spears and gigs and all sorts of crazy weapons and traps and stuff with these because of how high performance they are. Now, for my wild card, I didn't choose anything too crazy. I chose a folder that I'm very confident in its abilities. It is the Cold Steel Large Voyager Clip Point Plain Edge. This and the Nerve had been sharpened on the Wicked Edge. This is a good bit thicker behind the edge than the other two blades here, so you can do a little bit more thrashing and sort of lateral prying with the edge without hopefully sustaining any damage. It's got the triad lock, so of course it is incredibly secure. There's really no chance of this failing under normal conditions. Very comfortable in the hand, nice ergonomic grip. I really don't foresee you slipping up on the blade at all. And of course this would probably be my first line of defense as far as blade goes for a self-defense scenario, because I can get it out of my pocket very, very fast. I can flip it open very, very fast, and it will more than make up for the thing, or the, God, I can't talk tonight. Basically, long story short, it will be devastating if you get cut or stabbed with this also. And I have full confidence in this blade. And also with the AUS 8, this is also going to be very easy to sharpen in the field. Now, let's say I'm in the city or some sort of urban environment during this quote-unquote battle. I don't want a fixed blade on me. That might surprise a lot of people, because a lot of people, they want a fixed blade on them at all times if they're under some sort of, stressful situation like this where they've got to either survive or be defending themselves. But I don't want to stand out. If you're in an urban environment and you're walking around with like a machete, strapped to your belt, people are going to notice you, and it's going to start to sort of raise some brows as to why does this guy have a machete. So in an urban environment, I'd probably take this. It's the Cold Steel Pocket Bushman. Now, this is definitely a hard use blade. It's got the ram safe lock, and while the lock is sort of not practical and sort of strange, I've had fewer problems with this lock than I have with the triad locks. My Recon 1 has a triad lock and it has vertical blade play. This has none, and due to the design of the lock, basically there is no chance of this lock failing aside from your blade breaking or it shearing off the pivot. The lock is not going to fail. The construction is going to fail before the lock does, and I admire that. It is a full height hollow grind, not super thin behind the edge, but you could definitely do some hacking with this thing. Nice thick stock, so I definitely would not be afraid to use this for some prying. Semi-ergonomic handle. If you fold the lanyard up, it is extremely ergonomic. Really no hot spots at all, which is surprising considering it's just, you know, one sort of folded U-shaped piece of steel. But this would also be incredibly useful in a self-defense scenario, but more so from a sort of hard use utility scenario in a suburban environment. Now, of course, I would also have some sort of multi-tool on me. Generally, it is this Victorinox Swiss Champion Plus. It's got 30 functions. I use this a whole lot more than I use my Leatherman. The Leatherman's big and clunky, and this has a whole lot more tools on it that I use a whole lot more often. So that would definitely be with me, and that would greatly improve the amount of things that I can make in the field. So those are my battle blades. I'm not going to tag anybody per se, but I will say that if you see this video and you want to show me your battle blades, you are more than welcome to, and I will be more than happy to watch your video. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.